This is my first time working in major retail during the holidays, but I'm on overnight shifts, so I skip dealing with customers. Instead, I'm buried in merchandise, and the amount of pallets and boxes we've received for Black Friday is pretty wild. There's just so much stuff everywhere. It's insane. And we've all seen those videos of frenzied shoppers pushing for deals, right? People shouting, even fighting over Stanley Cups. People have even died during Black Friday. Some might say the savings were to die for. But beyond the hype and deals, Black Friday raises a larger question. What are we really gaining or losing from all of this shopping? What is the true impact on us individually and as a society? Let's be real. Everyone loves a deal. Research shows buying for less is satisfying even if you don't need it. But here's the catch. We're led to believe Black Friday deals are better than they actually are, thanks to marketing. In reality, there are sales all year and prices are always shifting. Plus, these sales last from Thanksgiving through Cyber Monday, so people have more time than they think. It's easy to get swept up in the hype. We think we're saving, but might end up spending money we don't actually have, racking up credit card debt, and I get it. That dopamine hit, it feels really good until you see your bills come and you don't have enough money to pay for it. I just picture a bunch of people buying a new Labubu for every family member. I love those TikToks where someone spots an air fryer and the sign says on sale now for $34.99, and then they lift the sign and underneath it's the original price of $34.99. And it reminds me of like Scooby-Doo unmasking the villain, but it turns out to be the obvious guy in the beginning of the episode. And big corporations just want you to feel like you're getting a deal, but they're actually just selling it to you for the same price. When we look past the surface bargains, it's important to ask, what does Black Friday actually mean for us, both as individuals and as a society? What should we really, truly be considering beyond the excitement? How does Black Friday actually change us? How do we act towards others? And what's really happening in our brains during all that retail chaos? Does it make the holidays more stressful or bring us closer, or maybe a little bit of both? And what does all this buying and shipping do to our planet? Where do those boxes and bags go afterwards? What about all the old stuff you threw out or donated because you bought new stuff to replace it? Have you considered what Black Friday really costs us? So where did Black Friday even come from? It started in the 1950s. Philly cops called the day after Thanksgiving Black Friday because the city was swamped with shoppers and football fans. They had the Army-Navy game was always going on that weekend. And so the streets were packed. Stores were busy and more shoplifters showed up. And so the police had to work these extra long shifts, and it wasn't exactly a holiday for them. The name stuck around Philly, and some tried calling it Big Friday to sound less negative, but that didn't really catch on. It wasn't until the late 1980s when retailers actually spun it into a positive light, claiming that Black Friday was when the stores went from in the red to in the black, finally, making a profit, as if though they hadn't been all year long. Okay. Now, Black Friday isn't just one day. It's a weekend of sales with Cyber Monday and Small Business Saturday, and people barely finish Thanksgiving dinner before chasing deals. I only joined Black Friday once, and I was 16, and my family is really small, so Thanksgiving, it's just 6 of us, and after dinner, we wanted to play a card game, but none of the ones that we had available really appealed to us, so my aunt suggested Cards Against Humanity, and my cousin and I drove to Target, not really thinking that Black Friday had started, like officially kicked off. I know it's kind of ignorant and silly thinking back on it, but I was 16. What do you expect? And Target was a madhouse. And we suddenly remembered, oh yeah, it's Black Friday. And we parked far away and went through a sea of people to the board game aisle, and bam, there it was. Cards Against Humanity. And at the time, I didn't realize how many expansion packs there were. Seriously, tons. Like, I figured the main game was enough for us for that night. Little foreshadowing here, it was not. And so we waited in line, which felt like forever, especially for a neurodivergent person. We paid, we went home, played the game, laughed so hard my mom had an asthma attack. It was great fun for the whole family. And then, we realized why the expansion packs existed in the first place. The main game gets kind of stale after you've heard the same responses a few times. So we ventured back to Target and did it again. And we parked in the back again and sifted through people and went to the board game aisle and grabbed the next expansion pack. And the expansion packs, so they come as full decks, like a deck of cards, or they come in smaller, like think of like a Pokemon pack of cards. And so we get the first deck thinking, okay, this will be enough. We're good. We waited in line again, got home, played, laughed, drank, enjoyed ourselves. Then, we need more cards. And so we go back to Target a third time. And by this point, it had slowed down a little bit. So we got to park a little bit closer. But got through some people, grabbed more expansion packs. I think we grabbed 3 more after that. And there's really no point to this ADHD story. I like the bits about having to go to Target 3 times in one night on Black Friday when I was in high school. And so if you're going to shop on Black Friday, just get all the expansion packs on the first run and save yourself some time from, zigzagging through hordes of people. Little pro tip for you there. Let's talk about what's actually going on in our brains during all of this Black Friday madness, right? When we're deciding between two things, like should we buy a new TV or not, our brains like to gather evidence. And so we compare prices, we read reviews, check our bank accounts. Normally, the bigger the decision, the more time we spend weighing it all up. But when we're under pressure, like during a big sale, our brains speed things up and we need less information before we actually jump and make a decision on something. So that's great if there's a spider on your arm or, something you don't have to stop and make a pros and cons list for, but it means we're way more likely to buy impulsively when there's a countdown clock ticking right in front of you. So the sense of scarcity actually changes how we see the product. If we think something's almost gone, our brains start to value it more just because it seems like everyone else wants it. Ever buy something and then you think, what was I thinking? That's the speed accuracy trade-off in action. When we have to decide fast, our brains take shortcuts and we're more likely to make mistakes. So I've had buyer's remorse before. I've bought things and it is, if you've never felt it, it is a gut-wrenching, like, oh my God, why did I do that kind of feeling. And you feel almost like regretful and shameful in a way. Under pressure, we don't look at the small details that actually matter. Like, does this thing have a warranty? Is the quality good? Is it a good brand? Or, hey, do I actually need this thing? Or am I just buying because it's on sale? And we start focusing on the wrong stuff, like how many other people are looking at the same item. And if if you're shopping online and a website says, only 2 left, we quit reading reviews and jump right to add to my cart and get our cart out as fast as possible to check out. Our brains just want a safe, predictable outcome. So we hit buy before we even really think it through on what we're doing. Quick decisions aren't always bad. Sometimes you need to act fast. Like if there's a fire alarm or if a car is swerving into your lane, you need to be able to react quickly. But on Black Friday, stores create the same sense of urgency to just get you to buy and buy quickly. And there's a sense of like scarcity to getting these items and a sense of FOMO. Like, what if I miss out? Black Friday is basically a masterclass in brain science. Every alert and countdown is designed to make you act fast. But if you want to know what's actually going on behind the scenes, you've got a better shot at staying in control when you go into the stores. And so let's pause for a second Here are 4 quick tips to help you keep your cool if you decide to do some shopping this week. Maybe they're obvious, but when our lizard brain takes over, a reminder never hurts. Number 1, plan ahead. Before the sales hype hits, figure out what you actually need and maybe do a little bit of research before you get swept up in the rush. A lot of businesses will actually put out a flyer for Black Friday sales so you can make a list ahead of time and not get swept up and buy more things that you don't really need. Number 2, set a budget and keep it in your face. Decide how much you want to spend and remind yourself of that amount while you shop. That way you don't get tricked by only 2 left or other FOMO traps. Be reasonable. Don't put yourself in debt over this stuff. It's not worth it. Trust me. Number 3, pause before you buy. If you feel the pressure building, just stop for a sec. Give your brain a chance to chill out before you add it to your cart. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, do I want this or do I need this? If the answer is want, then does it light you up? Does it make you excited? Number 4, ask, would I want this at full price? If the answer is no, it's probably not really a deal. I'm sure you don't want to end up throwing something out in a year or hoarding it for the rest of your life underneath your bed if it's not something you actually really, truly want. There's nothing wrong with scoring a bargain, but just remember, while excitement runs high and triggers in your brain push for quick decisions, your power comes in knowing it. In the rush for deals, you decide what really matters and who profits from your choices. I don't want to villainize Black Friday or spending money. There's nothing wrong with that in moderation, right? There's nothing wrong with a lot of different things if you do it in moderation. But my goal is to analyze what's actually happening and cut through the hype to figure out how we can navigate Black Friday's impact on not only our wallets, but our minds and society and the earth in a healthier way. One thing I will say about this event, though, is how wild people can get caught up in the chaos. Back in 2008, a Toys R Us in Palm Desert, California, it started out like any other Black Friday rush until 2 women started arguing in the electronics section. Words got heated, then fists started flying. Suddenly, the guys they were with jumped in. Both pulled out handguns and chaos erupted. Shoppers dove for cover as the 2 men chased each other down the aisles, firing shots. In the end, both men were killed, but no one else was hurt. It was like something out of an old Western, except in real life, in a toy store. I just imagine the men walking up to their wives in distress over the last copy of Mario Kart for the Wii. Well, I had it first. My husband's gonna kill you for this. And then the other lady's husband jumps in and he's like, the hell you will. And then, the good, the bad, and the ugly theme starts playing. And it zooms in on both of their squinted eyes. And one is standing at one end of the video game aisle and the other one is standing at the other end of the video game aisle. And then some fat kid kind of tumbles by like a tumbleweed. And then they quick draw McGraw, their 6-shooters, and start firing away at each other. It's an insane way to spend your Black Friday, if you ask me. Oh, man. While waiting in line at a San Antonio, Texas Sears at 9 p.m. Thanksgiving night in 2012, that is so specific for no reason, a shopper tried to cut in line. When another man objected, the offending line hopper punched him in the face. The man who took the sucker punch pulled out a handgun, a move he later said he made in self-defense. The line cutter fled. Police took the gun owner into custody, but released him, saying he was within his rights and he had a concealed handgun permit. He was asked to leave Sears, but given a store voucher for his next visit. Amazingly, shopping resumed just 10 minutes after the incident. They didn't waste any time at all. They said, we got to get back to the deals. People are going to lose their minds if they're not able to buy this stuff. Good God. Hey, here's a dankopossums tip for all of you out there. Do not bring guns to Black Friday. just keep him at home. This guy's really lucky that it ended the way that it did, because if the line cutter had also been strapped, then it would have ended up like the Toys R Us incident, and shopping probably would not have resumed. Most Black Friday shoppers pick up an extra few items as they browse retailers. One man, however, returned home with far less than he should have. In 2012, a Kmart in Springfield, Massachusetts, a man entered the store in search of a flat-screen television. Unfortunately, he left his girlfriend's two-year-old son in the back seat of the car while he shopped at 1:30 a.m. Although he did find a bargain-worthy 51-inch TV, he abandoned the sleeping boy and his car in the Kmart parking lot. Store security saw the boy inside the car and notified police. Police later found the man at home, apparently watching his big screen TV, but were unsure how he got it home because he left his car. Priorities, man. You know what I'm saying? I bet dude is at home watching the Avengers in his living room, and the cops showed up. They're like, "Oh, hey, is this your kid in your car?" He's like, "Oh my God, I knew something was missing. I was too distracted by Chris Evans' tight ass." Oh man, that's funny. I just realized both of these happened in 2012. People thought the world was ending, and they just threw all the logic out the window. In 2008, here goes another 2008 story. So the recession was really bad, and it made everybody full-blown go into idiot mode. A Walmart employee was trampled to death after a mob on Black Friday. After a mob of Black Friday shoppers broke through the doors and rushed the store. 4 shoppers, including a pregnant woman, were also injured. 2,000 people waited outside. Holy crap, man. 2,000 people waited outside for the 5 a.m. opening. Pushing against the door, nervous employees formed a human chain to try to slow them down. To no avail, the mob broke the door down and kept running to get to the bargains, knocking down employees in the process. The man's death did little to stop the madness. Shoppers were outraged when told to leave because someone had died. When the Long Island, New York store reopened at 1 p.m., it was full within minutes. I look at these people's faces and I keep thinking one of them could have stepped on him, said a Walmart employee referring to his dead coworker. How could you take a man's life to save $20 on a TV? Jesus Christ. Well, I'm not going to bum you guys out with any more Black Friday horror stories. It's just awful. I guarantee you now Walmart's probably got some sort of like fine line wording in their employment contract that says they're not responsible if you get trampled to death on the clock. So I got to ask why, though, right? Like, why do humans suck so bad to do this over a sale on some stuff? And I'm going to keep referring to it as stuff intentionally because that's all it is. At the end of the day, it's just stuff. Well, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's the psychological tactics that retailers use. It's that sense of urgency and scarcity, that FOMO. It's almost it almost puts people into like survival mode. It's the same part of our caveman brain that goes, if everyone else gets the nuts and fruit, then I won't have any and I'll perish this winter. And I know that might be a little bit of a slight exaggeration, but it's the same instinctual process. Logic just goes out the window, and then people react more than they actually think. Something I have realized through reading not only all of these stories that made the show, but also other stories that repeated the same sort of theme, is that most of the craziness seems to have happened in the 2000s and 2010s. I think it's also that effect that, like, as time goes on, the price of technology goes down. So when TVs first came out, especially like flat screen TVs, they were so unaffordable that if you had one, it meant you were literally a millionaire. And then as time goes on, that technology becomes easier to manufacture and the price decreases. And so I think part of this is that effect is that now you can buy a pretty big flat screen TV online and have it shipped to your house same day. And it seems like a lot more shopping has gone online, and I'd say for good reason. If I had the option to buy a flat screen TV that I knew I wanted that was going to be on sale, and it would be the same price whether I drove to the store and purchased it or ordered it online, most of the time, especially on Black Friday, I'm going to save myself the headache of having to deal with all these crazy people and just get it shipped directly to my house. I also think that the internet has eliminated some of this sense of urgency, this feeling of, oh my God, I have to have this thing, or, I'll do anything to get it. It's that sort of like madness mindset. I think that it's probably also raised some awareness to how out of control that Black Friday has actually gotten, and how people have gotten hurt and, killed. And I'd like to think people are more mindful now, but I don't know, to be honest with you. Probably not. It seems like, especially since COVID, it's switched to even more online. We've been navigating this post-COVID era for a few years now, and it really is different. Some people are hesitant to even leave their homes or go out in public, so they order everything. Groceries, takeout, alcohol, everything can be ordered online through an app now, and you barely have to leave your house if you don't want to, or if you think about people that work remotely. And I dug up a bunch of statistics about how e-commerce has skyrocketed and in-store shopping has dropped, and how many stores have closed in recent years. But honestly, I don't think that either of us really care to get bogged down by all of that. That's not really what this show's about. We get it. Corporate America chases money and quotas. I feel like I've been kind of shooting from the hip this entire show, if I'm being honest with you. But one thing I do try to think about is the bigger picture here, right? So what is all of this consumer waste actually doing to our planet, to the earth, to the one and only place we have to call home, until Elon Musk decides to take over Mars and colonize it? Here's a few things that I found that I want us both to keep in mind. Retail overall is responsible for about a quarter of the world's carbon emissions every year, and Black Friday cranks that number up. All those deals mean more plastic packaging, more stuff getting shipped, and a whole lot more waste. Between Black Friday and New Year's, American households generate 25% more trash than usual. Even though Americans make up less than 5% of the world's population, they're churning out over 12% of the planet's municipal waste. Just take a second and really soak that in. Black Friday's fire sale discounts aren't just hard on your wallet, they're rough on the planet too. That buy now, think later vibe feeds our throwaway culture. Instead of fixing what we already have, we're lured into buying newer, shinier stuff, especially electronics. If it ain't broke, don't replace it. But here's the kicker. Most of what we buy on Black Friday doesn't even stick around. In 2019, one study found that people tossed out 80% of their Black Friday purchases after just a few uses. Most of that ends up in landfills, gets burned, or is shipped off to a low-quality recycling center. 80%, man, that's... And if you're thinking, if you're like, well, hey, I'm buying stuff out of the goodness of my heart for the people I love and care about, I'm going to tell you right now, I have gotten so many gifts in the past that I had no use for or had nowhere to store it. And they ended up donated. And I'm sure eventually in a landfill. And I feel awful about that, but that's the system that we live in, unfortunately. And it's not just the stuff, it's the shipping. too. It's manufacturers ramp up their production and delivery trucks are hitting the roads in droves, and the whole process emits a ton of extra carbon. One report said Black Friday deliveries in the UK alone belched out as much greenhouse gas as 435 round-trip flights from London to New York. But wait, there's more! Don't forget about returns. That's a whole other mess. Black Friday's impulse buys lead to a tidal wave of returns, a 143% spike right after the sales, with more than half of shoppers regretting at least one purchase. All of those returns mean more shipping, more processing, and more plastic wrap. In the US, the carbon footprint from returns is equivalent to adding 3 million extra cars to the road. Sometimes it costs retailers twice as much to process a return as it did to ship the product out in the first place. So some brands just dump returns into landfills because it's cheaper. Just throw it away. Screw it. It's just a planet, right? Just, chuck it out there. All this overconsumption means the stuff we buy, especially during Black Friday, it just doesn't last. People will ditch a perfectly good phone for the latest model, even if their old phone works fine. In 2022, the world threw away 5.3 billion mobile phones. Most of those phones were never recycled, even though they are chock full of valuable elements. Every year, 80% of items bought on Black Friday are tossed out. Sometimes without even, they weren't even used. They were just bought, came home with you, went on a little vacation, and then got tossed right in the trash. Screw it. You don't need it. Just throw it away. Black Friday isn't great for the planet, but there are better ways to do things. As shoppers get savvier and brands step up with sustainable options, retail is starting to look a little greener. Some in the industry are ditching Black Friday altogether, rolling out eco-friendly events and in-store initiatives instead. Take Green Friday. It's happening on the same day as Black Friday, but the focus is on mindful shopping and repairing, not impulse buying. Some folks boycott sales completely. Others unplug and get outdoors. Even big retailers are joining in. Vodafone launched Bring Back Friday to encourage device recycling, and IKEA offered discounts to shoppers who returned old furniture. Their meatballs are amazing. If you've never had IKEA's Swedish meatballs, I need you to stop what you're doing, drive to your nearest IKEA, and go eat some meatballs and thank me later. Then there's Blue Friday, all about protecting the oceans. Brands supporting Blue Friday donate a portion of their sales to ocean cleanups, and the initiative has already raised thousands for plastic waste removal. More brands are taking a stand against Black Friday too. The Ordinary's parent company, Decium, runs Slowvember 23% off all month, then closes up shop on Black Friday itself. Patagonia skips the sales and encourages people to repair their gear or spend time outside instead. Freetag closes its stores and turns them into lending outlets, letting customers borrow bags to try out for free. Brands like Lucy and Yak and Rituals also boycott Black Friday. Lucy and Yak even runs their own alternative event, Fior di Lato. I should have Googled how to say that first, but here we are. So if you want to shop with the planet in mind, there are plenty of options beyond Black Friday chaos. And if any of those brands would like to sponsor Have You Considered, you can email me at dankopossums@gmail.com. So I wanted to share a few final thoughts with you before I wrap this up. If you need something, or you've genuinely wanted it for a while, and you see it goes on sale for Black Friday, go for it. There's nothing wrong with picking up a little goodie here and there for yourself, or, like I've been wanting a new Carhartt hoodie, and I saw they're going on sale at the place that I am a part of, and I'm probably going to pick me up a new Carhartt hoodie because it's freaking cold here in Ohio, and I've needed a new hoodie for a while. So it feels rational. I could rationalize it out. Don't go out shopping and just buying stuff just to be buying stuff. You don't need it. You don't need to spend the money. You don't need to go into more debt. Be intentional with what you do. That's honestly my biggest piece of advice. Just be intentional. Shop green if you can. And you don't want to be like those folks who wander around Costco who just no real objective in mind except to consume, just filling their carts with nonsense, walking around trying free samples, just zombies of human beings. You know what, though? It's just retail. It's really not that deep, so I'm not going to try to make it that deep. Buy out of necessity, not to fill the void, or just because you're bored. Or, hey, say screw it and buy a new boat. I don't care. It's your money. So I am showing up as my most authentic and vulnerable self when I say this. I'm being honest. I really didn't want to do this episode today. And it was kind of tough for me to push through and get it done. But we got her done. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty, but I received some bad news today. And I'm dealing with some legal stuff. I'll be fine. Just going to wrap up a few things. But it's going to be a sucky process. And it's probably going to cost me a lot of money. But I am approaching this problem with grace, from a positive perspective, and a how do I fix this troubleshooter mindset. I've been through much harder things, and I've come out a much better man on the other end. So this too shall pass. I'm getting it handled. What else can you do? But that doesn't make it suck any less. You know? I felt very scatterbrained today. When having ADHD, emotions are a lot more intense than in neurotypical people. So I did have a little bit of a roller coaster when writing this and putting this episode together. I felt more scatterbrained than normal. I don't think I really dove as I don't really think I dove as deep as I normally do in my research for things and in my writing, and I'm learning to be okay with that. I'm realizing some topics are just pretty shallow dives, and you don't really realize it until you're standing in a puddle. And then other topics are whole oceans to dive into, and that's okay. Life is messy and chaotic, kind of like Black Friday and kind of like this episode, honestly. And so is the art that we make. And at the end of the day, this is art. This is a piece of me. It's an outlet to express what's going on in my head and do something constructive with it instead of letting it keep me anxious and depressed and riddled with fear, unable to move in any direction or take charge of anything in my life. And the show's messy and it's chaotic, and it's also inquisitive and open-minded and fearless. And I'm learning to navigate my creative world the same way I'm learning to navigate the real world. I'm learning to let myself not take life so seriously. And I think that'll show in a positive sense in this show, as well as other ideas I bring to life. And, well, anyway, thanks for listening today. You can find me wherever at dankopossums. I'm hoping to put out some more supplemental content on my YouTube channel soon. So if you're listening to this somewhere else and you want to check me out on YouTube, You can find me at dankopossums, OPOSSUMS. Be safe out there. I hope to see you again on next week's episode. Bye. Brands like you, brands like you, God, fucking just say Lucy. Jesus fucking Christ. Brands like Lucy and Yak and Rituals. I sound like an asshole saying that now. Brands like you, God, I keep wanting to say Yusi, Badusi. Brands like Badusi